Hi guys, and welcome back to another video, and today's video is the Game Week 9 team selection. So this is a bit of a tricky one this week because last night Romelu Lukaku picked up an injury, so I'm going to have to sort something out with him and take him out and replace him with another player, which I haven't fully decided on, but you'll see what my plans are when we get to that bit of the video. But anyway, without further ado, let's get on with my Game Week 9 team selection. So in goal, I have gone with Guaita. So Guaita this week plays Newcastle. Crystal Palace played Newcastle. Although they've got their new owners in and they did look quite decent against Tottenham, I still think Palace play quite well this season. They could have the potential to keep a clean sheet. And it's at Selhurst Park as well, so they've got the home fans behind them, which are very great. They're one of the best home fans in the league, Crystal Palace. Fair play to them. Watched them a lot of times this season on TV. They've got a great set of supporters. But yeah, that's my goalkeeper. I could have had Sa from Wolves, who has Leeds. And I know Leeds aren't in the best of form this season, but I feel like they're more likely to score than Newcastle. So now we move on to the defence. So my first defender in my team is Matty Cash. So Matty Cash and Aston Villa play Arsenal this weekend. I feel like this is a game that could go either way. Arsenal could win, Aston Villa could win, who knows, but I'll chuck Matty Cash in there. He has the attacking threat, and maybe he can exploit that left-hand side of Arsenal, which is quite strong with Kieran Tierney, but you never really know who plays out on that left-hand side. Will they fill in? If it's Saka, they might, but they may play a bit of Martinelli or something, and you don't know how they will cope on that left-hand side. So yeah, Matty Cash is my first defender in my team. And now the next player in my team is Ruben Diaz. He didn't play last weekend. I think before Pep Guardiola was like, I don't know whether to play John Stones or Aymeric Laporte with Ruben Diaz. I'm not too sure. They both played well for parts last season, for parts this season. And guess what? He goes and plays both. But yeah, this week I do expect him to start. They've got Brighton, who are a very well-drilled team. They are a top-class side, but I don't see them beating Man City, and I don't really see them scoring too. So that's why I've gone with Diaz in the defence. And the final player in my defence is Kieran Tierney. So this is subject to change, because I may bring on Semedo for him, because Semedo has Leeds, and they're not in the best form at the moment, so I may play Semedo. But as it stands, I'm going with Kieran Tierney. So it's the battle of the fullbacks, Cash versus Tierney, in my FPL team this week. So now we move on to the midfield. So my first midfielder in my team is Andros Townsend. So he was quite disappointing last week against West Ham. Well, Everton were really, they didn't offer much of an attacking threat. But this week he plays Watford at home, and you do expect Everton to win this game. And if Townsend keeps his spot in that team, you expect him to get points because he has had a number of great returns this season. Yes, I know he didn't start the season off well, but in his last 3 game weeks, he's managed to get himself 22 points. So you do expect him to do something against Watford. And the next player in my midfield is Ben Rama. So this guy may get removed soon because he hasn't been getting me many points recently. In Ben Rama's last, 3 games, he's managed to get himself 8 points. A 3, a 2, and a 3. And yeah, he hasn't got as many returns as he did at the start of the season, which is quite disappointing. But I was going to bring him out this week for either a Conor Gallagher or a Wilfried Zaha. But now Lukaku's injured, I'm kind of got to focus my attention on that because he's injured and Ben Rama's not. Ben Rama's still going to play games. But yeah, as it stands, Ben Rama's staying in my team. And now we move on to the big lad, the guy who's probably the best football player in the world at this moment in time, and that man is called Mo Salah. So Mo Salah's sensational this season, and that's why I've got the captain's armband on him again. If Lukaku was fit, it may have been a debate whether to give it to Lukaku or Salah, but in the form Salah's in, I'm giving it to him. He's got Man United away. It is a tough fixture no matter what people say, although Man United haven't been playing that great this season. They always seem to put some of their best performances in against Liverpool, especially at Old Trafford. So it will be a tough game, but I'm going with Salah, and hopefully he can get me some points, and hopefully Liverpool can win, because I am a Liverpool fan. And the next player in my midfield is Rafinha. So Rafinha, he's sort of recovered from his extended break from international duty, and he should be ready and raring to go to play Wolves. And these fixtures are brilliant. They've got Wolves, then Norwich, then Leicester, then Spurs, then Brighton, then Palace, then Brentford. Yes, some of those games are hard, the Brentfords, the Leicesters, the Spurs, but the majority of them in there are games that Leeds can pick up points in. For example, Norwich, for example, Wolves, Crystal Palace. These are games where Leeds can get points in, and obviously they haven't been at the best this season, but Rafinha is probably their best player, and if Leeds are going to do anything, you kind of think, well, it's probably going to come through him. And the final player in my midfield is Diogo Jota. So Jota's been quite disappointing in the last couple of weeks. He's only got 1 return in his last 5, which was against Brentford. And he hasn't really had much football. But to be fair, Firmino played against Watford, scored a hat-trick, then played really well against Atletico Madrid. And also Mane got rested for Jota. So it kind of maybe entails it's going to be Salah, Firmino, Mane this weekend. or maybe Mane, Jota, Salah. All I know is that Salah's going to start if he's fit. Same with Mane, and I think it is a toss-up between Jota and Firmino. But if Jota doesn't start, he has the ability to come off the bench, but I may look to bring him out in a few weeks because even when he is playing, he's not looking like the Jota of old. But maybe it's just a dip in form and we'll see what happens. But yeah, he's my final player in my midfield. So now we move on to the strike force, and this is a very interesting one. I'll get the simple one out of the way and then I'll talk about what I'm going to do with Romelu Lukaku. So the first player in my strike force is the big man himself, the Wolves centre forward, Raul Jimenez. So Raul Jimenez last week was quite disappointing against Villa. Wolves scored 3 goals and he wasn't involved with any of them. But in his last 2 weeks before that, he got 18 points. And this week he plays Leeds, who aren't in the best form at the moment, and he could exploit their defence. And obviously, Wolves have got a great set of fixtures coming up. They play Everton, they play Palace, they play Norwich, they play Burnley. They play all these teams in their next, 7-8 games. So I'm keeping them with Raul Jimenez. And obviously, he's the sort of player that as long as he stays fit, you should sort of keep him for the whole season, really. He's about 7.5 million. He's just going to keep ticking over. Maybe you get a return every 2, 3, 4 games, which is alright for a £7.5 million striker. But yeah, I'm keeping him this week, and he's my first striker in my attack. So this is the big talking point of my team this week. Who am I going to replace Romelu Lukaku with? So I have got myself 3 options. And the first option is Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. So I was talking about him in my watch list. He's got 3 goals in his last 5 Premier League games. Arsenal have been in rather good form, and it's not just his goals that is impressing me. Last game against Palace, it was his overall work rate, the way he was pressing, the way he was linking up play with Lacazette. He played really well. And in their next few games, they play Aston Villa, Leicester, which we'll get onto in a minute, and Watford. So those are games where Aubameyang can get points in. And even after his big tough clash versus Liverpool, he's got himself Newcastle, but then his fixtures start to turn tricky. So the problem is, Aubameyang looks good for the next few weeks, but maybe not the next several after that. But what also leads me to picking Aubameyang is because he is differential. And if against either Villa, Leicester or Watford he picks up a big return, it does look very beautiful there for me. And now the next option for the potential strike replacement for Romelu Lukaku is Patson Dhaka. So this may sound like an outrageous one because it seems like a massive downgrade. He's only 7.1 million. He's about 4 or 5 million cheaper than Lukaku. Why wouldn't you go with someone who's a similar price? Well, Patson Dhaka in the week against for Leicester came on and scored 4 goals off the bench. Yes, I know the opposition wasn't of the greatest quality, but to score 4 goals off the bench, you've got to be a decent striker yourself. And he hasn't been playing many games for Leicester this season. He's been coming off the bench, which he did against Man United and scored, but he hasn't really done anything or played much football. But Leicester haven't been getting the best results this season. So if a man's just scored 4 goals against a team, you expect him to at least get a run in the team for the next several games. And that's why I may choose Patson Dhaka. Also, Leicester's fixtures are Brentford, Arsenal, Leeds, Watford, Southampton, Villa and Newcastle in the next, 10 games. So those are 7 or 8 fixtures there that do look brilliant. So Patson Dhaka could be an even bigger differential shout for the next few game weeks. And now that leads me on to his Leicester teammate, who could possibly be my most likely pick, the player that I'm most likely to choose, just because you know he's going to start. He's been in excellent form this season, and that man is called Jamie Vardy. So Jamie Vardy is probably the player I'm going to choose. He's been outstanding recently, 35 points in his last 4 Premier League games. And his fixtures do look quite good as well. As I said originally, he plays a lot of the lower league teams, lower teams in the table over his next 10 game weeks. And he has been amazing this season. He's sort of gone under the radar. He does cost a lot at 10.5 million, but I've got a bit of money sitting in the bank. And I've got Romelu Lukaku money as well, so I could bring in Jamie Vardy. So basically, what I'm going to take from this is Patson Dhaka is the real differential punt, because you don't even know if he's going to start, but he did score 4 goals last game. Brilliant fixtures. Aubameyang's sort of the middle option. He's not the safest option like Vardy, but he's not the toughest option. He's differential Aubameyang. He's been in decent form and he's got decent fixtures. And so have Arsenal as well, been in decent form. And then you've got Jamie Vardy, who's been in exceptional form this season. You know he's going to start and he's got a quality set of fixtures. So I haven't actually decided on what player I'm going to bring in next, but I'll try and let you know over the next few days. But yeah, that is my team right there that I'm going to choose, and obviously it is subject to change, especially in the strike force and possibly in the defence as well. But yeah, that is the end of the video there, right there. That is the end of the video right there, guys. If you have any questions, put them in the comment section, and if you have enjoyed this video and it has given you a hand with your FPL team, hit the like button and the subscribe button, and I'll catch you in the next one.